Guys, this is Jessica Neary. You're watching Airlim.
Hey Ranger Nation, so today we're going to be reviewing Bojack Horseman Season 1 from Manga Entertainment. And I've got to admit, this is something I've been curious about. So before we begin, if you want to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well as this cheeky notification bell to be notified when more videos drop. And without further ado, let's just jump straight into this. Bojack Horseman comes with 2 discs. Number 1 on the bonus features, as it has an episode 101 animatic, which is just basically it not properly animated, but you can see the sort of process. And on disc 2, you have the main title like animation, side-by-side walkthrough of the animation as well. And then obviously you've got some commentary on both discs that pops up and asks you if you want to look at them. I'm going to kind of do what I normally do, because this one doesn't really have, it has a story all the way through, but rather than like say anime or anything like this, it's kind of, these are episodes that you could watch normally on their own, so you don't have to kind of follow it. Once you know the sort of plot line, then it's literally, you can watch any episode. Bojack Horseman follows the main character Bojack, who is part human, part horse, or is just a human horse. Either way, and it follows him from a TV show called Horsing Around, which was basically those sorts of TV shows back in the day, such as like Married with Children, you know, things like that. So it's basically about him being washed up. He's not really had much work. He's got an agent girlfriend, as an agent, and his girlfriend, not like a super spy or anything like that. Her name is Princess Caroline. Then you've got Bojack's kind of ghost writer who's writing a book all about him, and it is her name is Diane. And then you have Todd, who is Bojack's housemate, kind of not housemate, basically a freeloader who is there, and they kind of go on weird adventures at times. It's set in a world where you've got humans and you've got like animal human hybrids as well. As the story evolves around Bojack and Diane, they just literally go around and it's just what he does, and she's writing all about it. I think like in this one it was a very weird kind of show. I'd seen it around a little bit and I was very curious about it. It kind of reminded me of like say Teen Aqua Force Go, I think that's the show's name. Also kind of like Archer as well. So there's kind of little things about it that just make me go, oh. I did also think the show was going to be really, really funny, but I think it made me laugh the total times of like 2 to 3 times, and it was just very ironic or little poses. So in some of the episodes, it's very kind of, yeah. So you kind of see different things happening in the show from horsing around. He kind of refers back to this most of the time. He's always watching the show. He tries to get like some work other places, but like no one will hire him because he's kind of washed up, he's hard to work with, etc, etc. Now, the animation also did kind of remind me very much of like Rick and Morty to some degree. Rick and Morty, I think, is far superior, but Bojack Horseman has this sort of kind of characteristic around it. It's something like you kind of watch in the background, you just don't really need to watch a lot of it. The main kind of element is that Bojack, in the end, falls in love with Diane, and that, as I could say, could be a major plot line. The 2 main storylines that you really kind of find in this one is with Diane and Bojack's kind of like love for each other, like he falls in love with her, and you kind of see it happening, like she starts liking him, but then she suddenly gets engaged, and then the next stage is where you have Herb, who's Bojack's kind of former comedy partner, that kind of taught him the ropes and stuff like that. Bojack and Herb have been working together on the show, but when there's loads of sexual acts that's been happening that Herb's been doing, as well as the studio finding out that he's gay, they kind of push him out and they try to like get rid of him. But because Bojack doesn't stand up, you know, all this sort of stuff happens. It's quite weird, the stuff that happens. It's things that you would see in Hollywood. But because Bojack doesn't stand up for Herb or actually be there as a friend, because Herb says, if you walk out, if you threaten to leave, then they will kind of like keep me on. They don't do this. And, you know, it's something kind of interesting, because rather than having like the story of like oh, you know, I forgive you, we're all best friends, you know, there's none of that. There's literally Herb goes, no, I'm not forgiving you. You did what was wrong, and I'm never gonna like let you forget that, and it'll always be on your conscience. You also see what happens with this much later on, which you kind of think, oh no, what's going to happen? So it was kind of interesting to see that sort of side. I'm glad that they didn't just pander and go, yeah, all is forgiven, etc, etc. There's another story that pops up, and it's Todd and his rock opera. And this entire episode, it actually is really interesting to see like how Todd rises up but then drops down due to the fact that he plays this one video game. And you find out what goes wrong, and It's this whole thing where Todd plays this game, he misses his opportunity because he doesn't go to sleep and he's so tired. And then you find out what Bojack did, and obviously there's a whole load of plot to it. But they leave it at the very beginning of the episode where there's a Best Buy like receipt which has the game on it. And when Todd finds it, it triggers a load of stuff, and he realizes what Bojack has done. And I kind of found that a little bit interesting. So maybe that's the third plot line. One of the characters I generally really liked was Mr. Peanut Butter, because it felt like, obviously he's a dog, but you know, where he's like, he trusts everyone, he's happy that everyone is. And even when he finds out about Bojack and Diane, or Bojack's feelings for Diane, when he literally says, "You're not doing this," and he's like, yeah, yay, type thing. And it wasn't too bad. The character did kind of annoy me a little bit, but he was a lot more interesting than Bojack at times. Storylines are there, they kind of set it up, and it is kind of interesting. Some of them you kind of be like, oh, okay, fine. But most of the time you can pretty much leave it. So let's talk about the animation. The animation, there's not really much to it. As I've mentioned, it reminds me of, like, say, Rick and Morty. It reminds me of Archer. You know that this is an adult cartoon. This isn't something shiny or anything like anime or what normal cartoons are. This kind of, also you could say maybe have a hint of like Adventure Time in this as well. That's what I just kind of thought of. But the animation was fine. It didn't kind of make me want to watch more of it. It's just, you go like, oh, so you'd know exactly, it was like, oh, that's Horseman Bojack Horseman. Oh yeah, I know what that is. There's so many characters that you see in this. There was not one that really annoyed me. The only two characters that did actually really get on me was the kind of news reporter birds that they had. That one I didn't like at all. I think that kind of really got to me. But like all the characters have their own uniqueness. Like Bojack, obviously you know that he is a drinker, he's a smoker, you know, and obviously he is a washout from what happened. He's not really had much work compared to, say, Mr. Peanut Butter, who is pretty much in his prime. He's getting all the work he can, and obviously he's moving on with his life, where Bojack has kind of hit this rut type thing. Todd was a kind of like, I think he was meant to be like the stupid character, but he wasn't in the end, which was fine. But he wasn't too bad. I think I kind of like Todd a lot more than Bojack. This all did kind of remind me of another kind of TV show, but I can't put my finger on it. I'm like, I'm sure this reminds me, and the whole cast, this is from something else. But again, I couldn't put my finger on it. Now, my kind of final thoughts on this is, it's an enjoyable show if you're into that sort of humor, if you like that sort of thing. For me, I would possibly maybe watch another season, but I know that I'm in no rush to go, oh, I need to watch that. The consistency of the plots at least were there. So you obviously had Herb and Bojack. You had the kind of love thing between Mr. Peanut Butter, Bojack, as well as Diane. But then also the book. Now the book was very interesting because in the kind of last 2 episodes you find out what the book is, and it's nothing to what it's meant to be, like a memoirs. It's something completely different. But then like Bojack goes crazy. He's just like, you know, this is not what I signed up for, this isn't it. And then all of a sudden like he accepts it and he's okay with it because it's helped him in so many ways. Now there was one character, which is the Penguin, who runs Penguin Books, and he really annoyed me because it felt like everything was riding on Bojack's book. Like this was going to be the book that gave him loads of money, that made things better, and it's just literally Bojack's way of saying like, yeah, I'm going to get this going, I'm going to do this book, but then kind of putting it off a little bit. That did get to me a little bit, but obviously that's why they put Diane in. So I didn't really like the Penguin. He just kind of really annoyed me, and you know, once you saw him and once he was in the episode, after that, you completely forgot about him. Didn't care. You didn't know much about it. That's kind of really it for this show, for this review. It's not a bad series. It's not a series that I would generally really watch, but it does have its sort of like humor, its sort of like appeal. But yeah, that's pretty much about it, really. So, Ranger Nation, what are your thoughts on Bojack Horseman? Do you like it? Do you not? Have you seen the series? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you've liked this video, then hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as that cheeky notification bell to be notified when more videos drop. And as always, Ranger Nation, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.